Previously, Z discovered that he was an all-rounder after a series of tests at the academy. After class, he headed to the shop but ran into trouble when he encountered Wang, who had hired others to harm him. The situation escalated quickly, leading to a confrontation between Z and Lei. As Lei called on his team for support, the tension reached its peak, only for a surprise arrival from another guild, the Celestial Guild, to turn the tide of the situation. Now to this week's chapter. Chen approached Z with her guild members flanking her. Z, relieved and grateful, smiled warmly and called her sister, grateful that she had come to his aid in this difficult situation. Meanwhile, Lei's men began to panic as they realized they were surrounded by the Celestial Guild. They looked to Lei, their faces filled with worrying, asking what they should do. The sight of the confident Celestial Guild had shaken them, and they hesitated, no longer sure of their next move. Lei struggled to stay calm, remembering that the Celestial Guild ranked second among the Beast Master guilds in Longyan City. Even the top-ranked Hurricane Guild would avoid conflict with them. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, he stepped forward respectfully. "Why has Miss Qing come here?" he asked, trying to keep his tone steady. One of his men whispered, confused about Lei's sudden change in demeanor, as everyone waited in silence for Qin's reply. Qin wrapped her arm around Zhao's shoulders, remarking that she just happened to be passing by. If she hadn't, she wouldn't have known that President Lei was causing trouble for her dear brother. Z, caught off guard, looked uncertain, while Lei, still confused, questioned her claim, saying he'd only heard that President Qin had one daughter. Qin firmly clarified that Zi Xingyu was her sworn brother, someone she recognized as family. She made it clear that anyone who tried to bully her brother was, in effect, challenging her. Lei fell silent, realizing the gravity of the situation, as Qin continued, emphasizing that any attempt to trouble her brother meant dealing with the full might of the Celestial Guild. Around them, Celestial Guild members and beasts stood ready, awaiting her command, their resolve evident in their fierce stances. Seeing the array of beasts poised for battle, Lei put on his most respectful expression and addressed Qin, saying that this was all a misunderstanding. Realizing he needed to be honest to avoid further trouble, Lei pointed back at Wang, his voice tinged with anger. He explained that it was Wang who had hired them to cause trouble for her brother. Wang, now fully aware that the blame was shifting onto him, began to panic, his face draining of color as he looked around for support. Seeing himself isolated, Wang raised his hands in surrender, stammering that he hadn't meant to target Zi Xingyu. Qin ignored his pleas and instead turned her gaze to Lei, making it clear he knew what was expected if he wanted to avoid a clash with her guild. Lei, clearly panicked, nodded in understanding. He turned to his men, shouting angrily at Wang, accusing him of daring to bully young Master Zi. His men, following Lei's lead, began to rough up Wang, who screamed in protest, yelling that he had indeed hired them and now they were turning on him. His cries echoed through the street, underscoring his helplessness in the face of Qin's power and influence. Time passed, and Zi found himself at the Celestial Guild's headquarters. Chen, walking beside him, couldn't help but ask how he had ended up running into such trouble. Zi, still confused about how everything had unfolded, shrugged and muttered that it was just his bad luck. He had only wanted to buy some nutrient boosters and never expected things to spiral out of control. Qin, looking at him with a mix of amusement and curiosity, raised an eyebrow and asked why he hadn't simply asked her for help. She then explained that the Celestial Guild sold the nutrient boosters he was looking for. With a smile, she added that if he ever needed any supplements in the future, she would be happy to help and offer them for free. He was taken aback and commented to her that he didn't know Sister Qin was so generous, thinking about how she was also the only daughter. She then explained that their guild had training facilities equipped with the best equipment to enhance Beastmaster skills. She then showed him another area and explained that this place was for recovery and relaxation, where Beastmasters and their beasts could come after missions to recover. Moving on, she led him to a massive room with a large screen and stated that this was the conference room on the top floor, where they held meetings to sort out detailed strategies for missions. She then took him to a lab and explained that this was their medical wing, fully equipped with advanced medical technology. It also had a vast range of medical herbs available to treat both Beastmasters and their beasts. She then pointed at him and explained that they had Beastmaster doctors here as well, highly skilled professionals who provided advanced medical care for beasts that were injured or facing problems, especially after missions. Z was surprised to learn they actually had Beastmaster doctors on staff, realizing this might be a place where his all-rounder skills could be useful. Taking the opportunity, he asked Chen if he could join her guild as a Beastmaster doctor. However, before she could respond, a firm voice suddenly called out, stating that he absolutely could not join them. The voice belonged to Lei Yue, the vice president of the Celestial Guild. She approached with a serious expression, crossing her arms as she looked Z up and down. With a sharp tone, she first asked who he was and how he managed to get inside the guild. Then, she questioned his level of experience, expressing doubt over his desire to become a Beastmaster doctor. She concluded by stating firmly that it was no time for jokes, reminding him that doctors were a crucial role and should not be treated lightly. Chen, sensing the tension, called out to Lei Yue, addressing her as Auntie. She explained that Z was the one she had mentioned earlier, the one who helped her capture the three-eyed giant apes on the train. Chen then added that she had taken him in as her sworn brother and now considered him part of her family. Lei Yue listened closely, her expression softening slightly as she processed the information. She looked Z over carefully, but still couldn't shake the feeling that he didn't seem particularly impressive to her. Despite Qin's words, she remained skeptical, her eyes narrowing as she sized him up. Before Lei Yue could voice her concerns to Qin, a person rushed into the room, clearly in a panic. They hurried toward the vice president, urgently explaining that several beasts had just been brought in with severe injuries. The injured beasts had already been taken to the medical wing. The panicked messenger stood before her, breathless, and asked what should be done next, explaining that they were short on staff capable of handling such severe cases. Lei Yue paused, a moment of concern flickering in her eyes as she wondered why they were short-handed. However, she quickly set aside her personal thoughts, realizing the situation at hand required her full attention. Lei Yue looked at the panicked messenger, her expression calm as she did her best to ease his worrying. She reassured him, stating that everything would be handled and there was no need to panic. Reinforcements from the other branches could be called in to help, and they would manage the situation efficiently. Turning to Qin, she asked if it would be possible for her to request support from the other guilds in the area. As she spoke, the messenger, now starting to calm down, took a deep breath, grateful for the clarity. A few moments later, they arrived at the medical wing, where injured beasts were lying on tables, some with severe wounds and bleeding heavily. The messenger boy, still in a state of panic, rushed up to the vice president and pleaded for help. He pointed at the beasts, stressing that they wouldn't last much longer without immediate attention. Qin stood nearby, unsure of how to assist in such a critical situation, feeling helpless as the situation escalated. Meanwhile, Lei Yue, visibly annoyed, surveyed the scene and furrowed her brow. She began to wonder if the other guilds were intentionally delaying their response, questioning whether this lack of support was a deliberate move. But just then, a firm voice echoed through the room, declaring that they could handle it. It was Zixingyu. He stepped forward, placing his hand on his chest, his expression serious as he addressed the vice president. He glanced at the injured beast before speaking, questioning whether she would allow him to take charge of the situation in front of them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.